A week or so ago, I saw a video from a YouTuber by the name of SkillUp in which he reviewed a game called Warframe. I'll leave a link to the video in the description because it's a great watch. This video actually prompted me to get the game, and I've been casually playing it over the last week, and I've got to say it's a lot of fun. However, I noticed that with all of the praise that people give this game, they sometimes fail to notice the obvious problems that this game has. Regardless, from all of the free-to-play games that I've seen, all of which are very below average, I believe that Warframe is of the highest quality of all of them. Not to say that Warframe is below average by any stretch of the imagination. And today I'm going to be telling you why, and just giving my general opinions about the game. The gameplay of Warframe on the surface is that of a third-person shooter. You aim, you shoot things, and they die. It's pretty simple. However, as you discover more abilities as you play the game more, you realize that the gameplay is way more focused on mobility. During the tutorial area of the game, you learn how to sprint, double jump, and slide, which are all very straightforward abilities. However, once you play more of the game, you discover a ton of mobility moves which make you travel levels faster and more efficiently. You start to string various combos of moves together until you can basically move through the levels at a very fast rate. Many games limit your mobility, meaning slow gameplay and pretty simple level design. This leads to a lot of shooters being incredibly dialed down. Warframe does exactly the opposite of this. It encourages a player to use the increased mobility to their advantage, and it literally becomes incredible, flying through levels with insane amounts of speed. There's just something satisfying about the game's emphasis on mobility. Going back to the combat of the game, you can take two routes, ranged or melee. Range is basically using a variety of guns, bows, and many other weapons that use range to defeat your enemies. Pretty standard stuff, and it's exactly the gameplay I'd expect from a third-person shooter. During my time playing the game, I actually much preferred going down the melee route. There was just something extremely fun about cutting through a whole load of enemies with a sword. On top of the gunplay and melee combat, there are a bunch of special moves that each Warframe can use by pressing 1, 2, or 3. The Warframe that I have been playing is called Excalibur and has 4 abilities, all of which are very tame. However, the many other Warframes in the game can utilize various other abilities that are very powerful. You can also apply mods to all of your weapons in the game, which are incredibly extensive, and we'll talk more about the modding system later. The gameplay may be unique and fun in terms of mobility, but that's as far as it goes. The missions aren't all that enjoyable really. All you do is kill enemies, run to the end of the mission, and then do it again. So this game is a whole lot of doing the same things over and over again, which is one of the game's huge flaws. After a while, killing the same enemies really does get boring, which is disappointing because the mobility and the combat mechanics are enjoyable. The gameplay of Warframe is very different to what you'd find in other shooters, but the emphasis on mobility really makes traversing the various levels a whole lot more enjoyable, given the basic and repetitive design of each level and combat encounters, which literally just consist of killing the same enemies over and over again in similar locations. If you're someone that loves customizing their character in the game, then Warframe definitely is incredibly heavy where the customization is concerned. There are 33 Warframes, and more are added in frequent content updates in the game. There's no shortage of characters for you to play in this game. Naturally, each of the Warframes have their own skins and are unique to each Warframe. There are also armor pieces that can be customized right down to the colors, skins, and mods. The same can be said for weapons. All of these customization features are all well and good, however, where the real complexity begins is the modding system. You can mod weapons, Warframes, and companions in an insane amount of depth. There are mods that cater to almost any build in the game. Do you want a melee-centric build? There's mods for that. What about a build focused on health and raw power? There's mods for it. How about a build that increases agility and overall speed? There are mods for that too. If there's any specific playstyle you want to play, there's most likely mods that support this. I really can admire the complexity of this modding system, especially in a demographic of games that dumb things down to make things easier for the masses. I could admire it, however personally I don't enjoy it. Call me simple, but I personally prefer an experience without such a high amount of options, especially with the modding system that is incredibly confusing to newcomers. Obviously there's a steep learning curve in this game, and the game simply doesn't cater very well to new people. However, the more experienced players can create some really great builds with the hundreds of mods that are available in the game. I'm sure if I spent a good 50 hours in the game, then I'd at least be able to apply some mods to my weapons in a meaningful way. However, the time I've played the game so far, I just applied mods and hoped I was doing things right. I guess I'm built to play a more simpler experience, but that doesn't mean this system is bad. It's incredibly impressive, especially for a damn free-to-play game. The thought and complexity put into Warframe even surpasses a lot of AAA titles, and for people that enjoy an in-depth customization system, this is fantastic. However, I just prefer a simpler experience as it feels less cluttered and a whole lot cleaner, but that's just me. Overall, the customization in Warframe is incredibly impressive considering it's a free-to-play game, and for people that like a large amount of complexity when it comes to video games, then this really is for you. However, I can't personally get my head around the system just yet. Hopefully I'll have more luck in the future. So this is where my biggest problem with the game lies. The missions or levels in the game, the playable area in the missions are randomly generated using pre-designed rooms and halls commonly referred to as tiles. This means that every mission is completely different as you make your way through it. I know this sounds amazing at first, and it really is given the size of the development team and the fact that the game is completely free. However, there's only a certain amount of these tiles that developers can create. This leads to you going through the exact same areas over and over again, just in a different order, which just feels strange to me considering all of these missions take place in different areas across a whole planet, but they are exactly the same in their layout and design. Ultimately, this led to the missions feeling absolutely meaningless, because it was just another area that I'd seen countless times filled with enemies that have the intelligence of a rock, despite how important the various NPCs that talk to you made it out to be. It just felt like there was no consequence whatsoever, so I could do whatever I wanted to in the mission without fear of failing, which made for a much less intense gameplay experience with no risk, no excitement, and very little reward, which ultimately fell flat for me. The enemies that are placed throughout these missions really don't help. They really are just there for you to hack to pieces without any fear of being gunned down yourself. I get that the game is meant to be a power fantasy, but so are games like Halo, Doom, and Destiny, and most games in which you play as a powerful super soldier. But even in all of those games, I found myself dying at the hands of a lucky enemy that caught me off guard. Although you're extremely powerful in those games, there is still a risk that you'll die, which creates a more tense atmosphere when you are playing. This overall makes it exciting because it means I actually have to engage my brain when it comes to combat. In Warframe, the enemies really do pose no threat to you at all, and no threat means no risk of death, which means little in terms of excitement when it comes to the combat encounters. The repetitive level design and the passive enemies are bad enough, but the mission objectives are as basic as it gets. Hack 3 computers then leave, defend this NPC, kill all the enemies in an area. The missions are bare bones, and it's not like I really have a problem with this, because I enjoy Destiny, which also has similar mission objectives. However, as I said before, the repetitive level design and the docile enemies don't make the missions feel urgent, or even important in the slightest, so the basic mission objectives make this even worse. So now there's repetition, no risk, and also a feeling of no importance in the missions. This really was the downfall of Warframe in my eyes. I know many people still enjoy the game, and it's actually one of the most played games on Steam with over 26 million players since its release in 2013, which is almost as much as Overwatch with just over 30 million overall players. So it isn't like the game isn't liked by many, it's just in my personal opinion, the level design, enemies, and mission structure remove the urgency from the game, and therefore remove all excitement and most of the fun for me when it comes to playing the missions in the game, and this really soiled my experience personally in the game. One thing that keeps me interested in Warframe is that a huge content update is coming soon that creates a huge open world place for players to explore. There are caves, hidden camps, and enemy outposts scattered around the map, and many things to discover. Additionally, there's a social space that allows players to buy items, do missions for NPCs, but most importantly, to craft their own weapons from various components, and even name them whatever you like. This is a huge step for Warframe, and is something that keeps me intrigued and excited for the future of the game. No longer will the gameplay and missions be limited to corridors and the same procedurally generated tiles, but there will be an open world with a large amount of possibilities for even greater content than before. Digital Extremes want to stick to the mobility based gameplay, so they have a jetpack / wing set type feature which allows you to fly through the huge open world at an extremely fast rate. Sometimes in an open world game it gets boring just running to your next quest or objective. Warframe manages to make even this fun by adding in a new mobility feature to keep things interesting when traversing the map. After watching the demo of the Plains of Eidolon, I was completely awestruck. This is such an impressive feat by such a small developer. It's got quests, shops, craftable weapons, things to explore, enemies to fight, even what looks to be a massive boss right at the end of the gameplay demo, and the greatest part about all of that is that it's completely free. If you're looking for story in Warframe, then I wouldn't bother looking at all, because there isn't an overabundance of it here. There's a hugely deep amount of lore that is incredible, so if you're interested in that, then Warframe can definitely deliver in that regard. Like many looter shooters, the story is by no means the forefront of the game. However, the various different missions and planets have little snippets of story dotted around them, which builds lore and tells the player what their actual goal is in the game. The most story-filled sections of the game are definitely the quests. The mandatory quest, Vor's Prize, was quite obviously story driven because there were cutscenes, characters, and an ending. Although it doesn't last very long and is only meant to be an introduction to the game. The other quests though, I've heard great things about, one in particular being the Second Dream. Watching people's reactions to this quest shows how passionate they are for the game, which is really great to see. The game has had a huge effect on their lives, and the Second Dream looks like it was a huge payoff for people that have been playing the game since day one, or even people that are new to the game. Everyone highly praises the various quests in Warframe, and for that I must commend the game for being able to affect people on such an emotional level. It's very rare that games do this, and Warframe's quests achieve it without a doubt. All in all, story isn't at the forefront of the game. You really have to dig deeper to find the rich extended lore that is offered to those that seek it out. Additionally, if you really want an activity packed with story, play the quests in the game. They really are the best experiences that the game has to offer, and I can really admire a game that has unique experiences that can play with the player's emotions like in Warframe. A problem that many people have with Warframe is its in-game economy. The main currency in this game is called Platinum, and this is used to buy all of the skins, weapons, warframes, and armor pieces from the armory. However, getting this Platinum takes a lot of farming, and when I say a lot of farming, I mean a lot of farming, sometimes even for a very small reward. Platinum cannot be made in the conventional way. You must farm items such as armor sets, mods, or other valuable things and sell them to actual players in the game. This can be done in many ways, such as using the in-game chat to talk to people who want to buy or sell items, or using an external website to put items up for auction and have people message you in-game to buy or sell. However, you can't sell items to NPCs in-game. All buying has to be done to players and from players as far as I know. This makes it kind of difficult for people who don't want to get involved with other players in the game, or just prefer playing completely solo. However, that's just how it is. This kind of trading system encourages players to buy Platinum in the game without outright forcing them to buy it like other free-to-play games do. Most people in Warframe don't use microtransactions, and for the people that do, they're just helping the developers make the game better. I mean, Digital Extremes need to make money somehow to be able to support their game. I really don't think that Warframe is pay to win, and I think that people that say it is are pretty ignorant. Fair enough, the game has a complex economy and trading system that requires you to actually get involved with other players. I personally didn't like this feature, and I would have happily sold a bunch of shit to NPCs in the game for Platinum, but you have to commend Digital Extremes for making a system like this work for so long. I believe if it was pay to win, then it wouldn't be nearly as popular as it is. You may not be able to get Platinum by selling it to NPCs or by finding it in the game, but with a lot of farming you can get it without spending a penny, and from what I've heard, once you get good at pricing things right on the market, then you can really start bringing in huge amounts of Platinum from selling to players in the game. So overall, no, I don't think it's a pay to win. It just has a complex trading system that scares many people away. It may be very grindy, but this is only to encourage people to buy Platinum, which in turn allows Digital Extremes to make money, which actually allows them to support their game and release the frequent content updates that ultimately keep the game alive. At first glance, Warframe just looks like another third-person shooter, but it's so much more than that. I just admire Digital Extremes' determination and passion for the game and how they just want to bring the best experiences to their players as they possibly can. Given the game's flaws, these can be overlooked simply because the game is free to play. You don't have to even spend a penny when you play it. No microtransactions are forced upon you, it's not pay to win, and you can get large amounts of Platinum in-game by buying and selling to other players. Although I believe that a simple NPC trading system could easily be added in for newcomers, I just don't think that's what Digital Extremes are going for. The customization is second to none. I don't think I've seen such a complex system of mods in many games before, and I think it's great that Warframe doesn't dumb it down for the people that like it to be complex. However, I personally don't enjoy this system. I don't know if it's a mixture of the games that I grew up playing or the fact that I'm just lazy, but I'm determined to get the hang of it at some time. The story in Warframe may not be the best, but it is there, especially during the various quests in the game that offer lore building for the world, but also have a huge impact on players that enjoy the game. My only problem with the game is its level design, mission objectives, and docile enemies. However, I hope this will soon be fixed with the Plains of Eidolon expansion, which adds a large open world space with many activities for you to take part in. The tagline of the game, "Ninjas Play Free," is very true given the focus on parkour, mobility, and all-out power when it comes to the gameplay. I love that the game doesn't restrict your mobility. It made for an actually interesting way of traversing the missions, even if they are pretty repetitive. In terms of combat, I prefer if the enemies posed more of a threat. It would make for a more intense game, opposed to just being able to gun down or slash to pieces any enemies that try to stop you. I thought I'd go into Warframe hating it. I have such respect for the game, its fanbase, and the developers. However, I do not love Warframe, but it's so much more than I expected it to be. It baffles me that a game with such depth and such a high amount of content is free. I will definitely be playing more of this game and trying to understand the more intricate details of the game. I don't think I've played a game quite like Warframe before, and it is without a doubt the best free-to-play game ever. Anyway, that is the end of the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. It's a bit long, but I did want to get all my opinions out on Warframe. Obviously, there's so much stuff that I missed out on. Like, there's so many features in this game that I have yet to experience. I'm a noob at this game. That's the reason why this is a noob's review of Warframe, because there's so much left of this game that I haven't experienced yet. And obviously, there's the Plains of Eidolon DLC that's coming out. And you know, there's a whole lot of stuff that this game has to offer that I may not even experience ever. I don't know. I'll definitely carry on playing this game because it's pretty fun and I'm enjoying my time playing it. It's a fun game, and you know, I look forward to the future of the game. Although I'm gonna probably continue playing it casually. You know, I won't get full grindy into it because other games that are coming out soon that I kind of need to do reviews on and stuff like that. All of these opinions in the video are simply opinions. If you like the game, if you like the level design, or the things that I didn't like about the game, that is perfectly fine. Like, that's perfectly fine. You guys can like the game. You can like whatever aspects if you want. That's perfectly fine. But I personally didn't like some aspects of the game. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to like and subscribe for more game news and content in the future. And also, remember to comment down in the comment section below telling me what you thought of this video. And I'll see you guys in the next one.